Hi movie fans, so today we're going to be checking out my first AV receiver, 22 years old and stored for the past 15 years. Does it still work? Don't forget, if you're choosing the video today, there are links in the description below for the best place to get those home cinema products. Make sure you check those out at the end of this video. Hi movie fans, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be checking out my first receiver slash second, and there's a reason for that, a little bit of a story behind this. First receiver I bought was in July of 1999. Up until then, I'd got my DVD player from late 98. I've been using it with an AWAT ProLogic system. If I've got a picture of it, I will put it on screen what I was using it with. And then I decided to jump in and buy an AV receiver so I could run a sub and speakers with it. And I bought the Str-DB1080, as you can see on the screen now. It's a really nice system, worked really well. But then in January of 2003, we got burgled. Hey presto, they robbed my DVDs, they robbed my amp, camcorder, the lot. And luckily we got house insurance. So it did get replaced, and it got replaced with this bad boy, which weighs a shocking 16 kilograms. So let's get this unboxed, see how good it is on the inside, why it was so heavy, and if it still works. Let's dive straight into it. So looking at the box, this came with an FM and AM stereo receiver included. Also came with RDS, Dolby Digital Extra, ProLogic 2. I've been using ProLogic up until buying my previous receiver, and DTS ES. Also the weight on the side says 36 kilograms. That's because it included other things that had been stolen, but the actual weight of this was 16 kilograms. And it was replaced by a company called Empire Direct Electricals on the 17th of the 1st, 2003, so about 2 weeks after we got burgled. But also on that list that got replaced was a portable mini disc player. We got a mini disc player stereo, we'd got a PS1 replaced, and a PS2. We'd literally just put the PS2 Christmas time as well, so we'd literally had the PS2 about 2 weeks, and then we got burgled. We got a new style remote control. You can see it's a little bit different from the one that came with the 930 that I originally had. Had a light up menu. You could program this to control lots of AV equipment. Slightly scratched there. Obviously been used quite a bit for the 6 years. Obviously I didn't set this up until we moved. I had everything sent to my mom's house when we got burgled, just in case they came back. This was stored around nearly a year until we got to move into a new house. You've got your instruction manual. So here it tells you everything you'd needed to hook it up, whether you used audio leads for your VCR, optical leads, so digital out cords, optical out, which worked really well for the 6.1 channel. And then obviously your component cords, because they would run through from your AVC receiver straight to your TV as well. So because we've got the AFM receiver, you've got an aerial which you'd clip on your wall. That was your aerial. It's been a while since I actually used a radio on one of these, but I think that was for your FM and that might have been for your AM. But this is one heavy unit. So let's have a look around it, and then we'll open it up and see what it's like on the inside. So looking at a remote, you could control your TV, so you could change channel, you could switch it from TV to video. You've got your widescreen, as we had widescreen TVs back then, so you could switch it from wide to normal. On-screen displays, you have the features of the amp on screen, then you've got your main menu, and then we had a toggle button here for your guide, master volume, mute. All your DVD buttons were here, and functions. So if you press the function button, this should light up. So you could flick the function button, and then you could scroll down between your laser disc, your TV, satellite, tape disc, mini disc, and depending what you want to control, and then you just press enter, and then you'd be on the multi-channel. And then if you wanted to change it again, so you want to go back to control your DVD player or your tape deck, click that, you can control your tape deck. So that was a pretty cool feature. It was like a universal remote, but made by Sony. Ventilation was on the top, there was none on the sides. The sides were plain. Then on the bottom we got venting as well, and those anti-vibration feet that Sony fitted on the early DVD players. And it was all pretty much a steel construction. Looking at the front, we've got that beautiful brushed aluminium design. So just to the left, it came your on-off button. We've got a display button, a dimmer button for your display. You'd also got these speakers. You could switch from speaker A to speaker B. Big phono socket like you got on your DVD player. On-screen menu, so you could have on-screen menu on your TV. You've got RDS, Dolby Digital X with ProLogic 2, which was an upgrade to ProLogic. And then you've got your DTS ES, which was great because I'd buy it looking at a player that was DTS compatible in the future. So as you pan pan across, we've got a lot of functions on the front. I'm pretty sure these players today don't have all those. It's all via remote. And then on the right hand side, we've got our master volume button. This again, I had on my DVD player, was a alpha dot protection system. You put micro dots on there and it's just to warn people that got micro dots. They could trace them back to who the original owner was. And then at the bottom, we've got our function knob, our audio split, our input mode, our muting button, and our door open. So if you press the door open, front panel should open. Nice and smooth. So behind there, we've got a super video input. We've got our VCR inputs as well. These are all if you didn't want to go around the back. We've got an optical input if you've got a mini disc player. You want to just plug in straight away. And as we pan across, we've got a memory button, FM mode. We've got RDS PTY, a test tone for testing your speakers, tuning selections, equalizer selections, night mode. So if you wanted to watch movies of a night time, you press the night mode and it reduced the bass. I think it did something like that. Setup, customize, surround sound, level, equalizer. Can't remember what this did. And then an enter button as well to enter those. Then looking at the back, there was lots of inputs on the back. We've got the optical input, so you've got your optical input for your DVD laser disc, optical input if you've got a TV or satellite. Most TVs didn't have optical out, so it was mainly for your satellite TV. Mini disc optical in, mini disc optical out, and then you've got your digital coaxial out for your DVD or laser disc. Your aerial connection here, so this was your FM aerial, and then you've got AM. You've got two multi-channel inputs. You've got multi-channel 2, so you've got a front, surround, center, and a subwoofer, and then multi-channel 1. This gave you that extra channel which made it 6-channel sound. So you've got your front, your surround, your center front, your rear surround, which was great, and then you've got your subwoofer. Then we've got all our inputs, monitor, we've got our super video out from your monitor and your monitor input there. We've got your AV controls, you've got your video, so all your connections for your TV or satellite, DVD or laser disc connected via here. You've got your video for your video recorder, so your video out and your video in, so this would pass through this and then go straight to your TV. And then also we've got a video 1 connections here with super video for the picture. Then down the bottom, we've got a phono connection, we've got a CD or super audio CD connections here, mini disc or digital audio tape, and then your tape deck could connect here as well. Then we've got our banana plug connections. So we've got our front surrounds, we've got our center speaker, and then we've got our rear back surround. And then we've got our front left and right speakers here. So if you've got a DVD player that already got pre-outs on it, you could plug them straight into here. So you get your front, surround, center, surround back, your subwoofer, and then your subwoofer out. And then you also got connections here for if you just got normal speakers, and your main power outlet for an active subwoofer. So let's get this bad boy opened up and see why it weighs over 16 kilograms. Well, so it looks like it's aged pretty well. It doesn't look that dusty inside after 25 years. So it's used for around 6-7 years. I did vacuum the vent on the top every week without fail, so it looks like it did work. So let's just zoom in and blow over some compressed air and see if any dust comes out. And then we've got our main cooling radiator. And there's nothing coming out of there either. Power wise, we've got some massive capacitors here. Nothing came off when I blew it with the air duster. Boards look pretty clean. Discoloration on here, this feels like it's dried up grease. I don't know whether they grease these or what's meant to be on there, but it has discolored a little bit. But internally, this looks pretty sweet. It looks pretty new. So it has aged really well over the 15 years in storage and the 7 years use. So you can see the build quality from Sony back in the early 2000s was just as good as their DVD players. Get this bad boy back together and power it up. Right, so let's get this powered on. So I've connected 2 speakers to it. I'm not going to connect full surround, but we'll just see if the radio works on it and whether it pumps out some tunes. Right, so you can see it's come on from the last time I used it. Obviously I was watching the Blu Ray when I used it. These functions are all set up, so you've got your Blu Ray function, your tape function, just by switching that function button. Sky TV, what else to have it set up? Video 1, video 2, phono, and then the radio. So the radio should work. At the moment it's pre-tuned to a radio 1. which I don't think we're going to pick up at the moment. So we're hissing, so we'll just tune it and see what we can pick up. I won't leave it on the channels purely because for copyright reasons. So picking up something there, going through auto detect, and it should pick something up. Oh, there you go. So we've got something. So the radio still works. Yep, definitely works. So for copyright strikes, we're not going to play anything. I'll turn that down just so it's not playing any music, but you can hear when I turn up and down, there's no crackle, nothing. Those speakers are working superb. So the dials, there's no dust in the dials, no crackle, fantastic. So I'll flick through the menu system. So with the menu system, you've got your FM, AM radio. I think you've got 2 FM stations. I can't remember how you control all this. Then you've got your mode, so you've got your normal surround, you've got your surround studio extra, surround studio extra 2, so you can see the symbols here would disappear and reappear depending on what speakers were connected. So mono movie, stereo movie, constant hall, so these are all your effects for your music channel or for your radio, depending what type of music you're listening to. Disco club, live concert. So there's quite a few settings on here. If you're playing a game, it come out 2 speakers as well. And then you've got your normal surround. So on your surround, you've got your 2 fronts, left and right. You've got your surround left and right, and then you've got the surround back and your center speaker, which is pretty awesome having 6 channels on this amp. Massive difference compared to having 5.1, and I was using AWA speakers back in the day, but then did upgrade the speakers to Tannoy, I think it was, which I've still got some Tannoy speakers today as well. All working. Display looks great. Let's try the dimmer switch. So what the dimmer switch did, dim the display, which was pretty cool. This would light up blue, obviously because we're not playing a DVD or Blu Ray with, no, it's gone off. So you can have it totally off. So you turn the percentage you actually wanted it. So dimmer 0%, see what happens. Does the display go off now? The display stays on. So there you go. So the higher you went up, the dimmer it went, and then you can have the display totally turned off if you didn't want it on when you were playing a movie. So this is still working. Even being a UK tuned receiver, it works pretty well, picking up some Adelaide stations. Not that I listen to the radio here. I think it'd be great for an old game console like a PS2, Atari Jaguar, anything like that, because you've got all the inputs on the back to connect to it. You're not just relying on HDMI. There's no HDMI inputs in here, but it is great for retro consoles and great for old DVD players as well. Right, so as you can see, that AV receiver works great. Obviously, I've tested all of the channels as well. They do all work. There's no crackling. It works superb. As you heard out the 2 channel speakers, it was still tuned to Radio 1, which was quite a surprise, and that shows the last time I used it. And I did use the tuner. I didn't think I did, but I did listen to Radio 1 on it. I had upgraded to a Blu Ray player when I changed my amp. So you can see I did use it for around 7 years before I upgraded my amp. The 6 channel sound on it was superb. I always remember that rear speaker made a massive difference. For then, I was limited to Pro Logic sound through an AWA stereo. It just made a massive difference having DVD, having that improved sound quality. You got Dolby Digital, DTS at a later date. DTS sounded fantastic. The boom out of DTS, even watching U571 with a DTS soundtrack or Gladiator was superb back then. And I believe it would still be great today. But introduced in 2003 was Pro Logic 2. What a turnaround that was. And the Neo 6, which I think was a 6 channel sound, which gave you that rear extra surround sound speaker, which worked great with Blu-rays as well. If you was looking for an older receiver, these receivers are still out there. Just make sure you've got one that's been looked after. I know that's pretty hard to do. They're not gonna let you take it apart and see what it's like on the inside, but you can see that these Sony receivers were built to last. Compared to the quality of the products we get today, they were actually built to last, made out of steel or aluminium compared to plastic. So I'd like to thank you all for watching. Keep supporting Digital Media, and I'll catch you in the next one.